Happy Friday. It is Friday. It is Friday, and it is March Madness, which is so weird to say because we are used to that being a Thursday, of course, although you had some first four games, but those really mean nothing to me, even though I watched all of them. Well, I can't believe it's March Madness. It's crazy. I mean, last year we got robbed of the tourney, and it's one of the best things ever in sports. It's the greatest, you know? You never know what you're going to see, so I'm pretty pumped up for it. Basketball all day long. All day, noon to midnight, nonstop action. So I'm looking forward to it. I'm sure a lot of you are as well. Villanova, if you're one of the local fans, Villanova plays tonight. I think they're that 9:57 tip-off game, which probably will be later than that. Who knows? But I'm pumped up for it, man. It's going to be a good time. Are we going to see some good stuff? That's right. The Phils have a night spring training game tonight against the Yankees, right? So you have that on the table as well. But with all this basketball, while the Phillies will be on the television screen, of course, man, I am super pumped up for this NCAA tournament. It's going to be a good time. It's going to be a good time. That's right. You had the Flyers as well. It's funny. Like, to me, I'm in college basketball mode, and you get Phillies right off the bat. You got Sixers, bang, bang, bang. Those are the first three things you get in the chat. So it's just funny how it all works. That's all. But do I think Ghost is going to get traded because he's getting benched? I don't know. Does anyone really want to make a trade for him? Does anyone you know what we need right now? We need Shane Gostisbehere, a player who's getting benched for the Flyers. I don't know. I mean, maybe a team needs a power play defenseman that's not going to take up a lot in compensation, maybe, but dude, is Ghost that good that people are like, you know what we need? We need Shane Gostisbehere. I doubt it. Who's my pick for March Madness winning it all? Well, this Gonzaga team I think is nasty, not going to lie. So I tend to lean in that direction. By the way, we are switching up the coffee this morning. I forgot about what I had in the back of my one drawer. So we got the Starbucks vanilla, not French vanilla. No. This is just good old Starbucks vanilla roast. So it's very, very, vanilla-y, if that makes sense. But let's take our first sip. Everyone cheers as it's 9:03 as we take our first sip of coffee for the morning. Cheers, everybody. Cheers, everybody. Amazing. Yes, Jack, I see your comment. I could see all the chats. We got Periscope, YouTube, and Twitch. You can follow me on Twitch at Sports Talk with Brodes. We're going to be implementing some more Twitch live streams as well. But yes, I see all three of the chats. How far is Villanova going? Not very, because of the injuries, right? I mean, as soon as you saw what happened and there was a major injury, it's like, all right, there goes Villanova and their chance to get it all done. Here's the problem. Clark Calabrese. He says, what would you trade for Deshaun Watson? I'm thinking it would take something like Hurts, 2 firsts, Zach Ertz, and a third. I think it would take more than that. I think it'll take more than that. And I honestly don't know what type of package it would take. I have no idea. I don't know what it would take for the Houston Texans to finally do it. You also have all this drama going on with these allegations as well. So honestly, I have no clue what type of package, but I bet you it's more than 2 firsts. Zach Ertz is not much value to people. I mean, there's a reason why he's not traded. It looks like the Eagles are looking for a high draft pick, and they're not getting offered that. They'd be lucky to get offered around that 4 range for Zach Ertz if that's kind of where I see it in the ballpark, but it looks like they're holding out for something more. Zach Ertz, a third, that's not much value for Deshaun Watson. So 2 firsts, if I'm just looking at the first part of it, I think you'd have to give up more first than that. So I think it would be more than that. Yeah. Arm Zebra says, I'm thinking at least 3 firsts. You would have to do significantly more than this trade would be my guess. Michael Gibbons. Good morning, Brodes. Happy March Madness. Happy March Madness, everyone. It's crazy. I mean, we had this opportunity last year for March Madness. It got ripped right away from us as soon as all of the conference tournaments were going down. I remember the Big East had games actually happening, and they're like, you know what? Let's wait for the games to finish while all these other games were canceled. which was wild because at the time we had no information on anything. But here we are. We get a full throttle. We get a full slate of games. And I'm pretty fucking pumped. Let's just keep it real. I'm pretty fucking pumped to watch the ball tip and watch these games. After watching Tom Izzo yesterday get pissed off at one of his players, and they're screaming at each other underneath the tunnel as they're running through the tunnel. It's March. It's March. You know? Would you trade the whole draft for Deshaun? Well, if it's going to take 4 firsts to go get a Deshaun Watson, if it could take you one draft, yeah, because half these picks don't mean a damn thing. But obviously that's not realistic. So that's more of a hypothetical, but yes. How about MSU? Oh, I hit the wrong one. How about MSU choking the lead? Yes, they did. UCLA making buckets late. The injury happened, though, underneath the basket. That looked a little scary. He had to get not carted off, but limped off with some teammates and some help. I'm not getting into the allegation side of things with Deshaun Watson. There's a lot of information for you to. There's a lot of information that you need to figure out for before any comments are made to that level. Ben Simmons clamping. Yeah, he finished 2 of 8. I think what was the final stats? 2 of 8 with 4 turnovers. That's insane, right? You don't see many people put Giannis in that type of situation. And I see all the Bucks fans afterwards, oh, look at the points. And yeah, we'll go back and look at when Ben Simmons was defending him, and Ben Simmons was special. You know, that's the beauty of Ben Simmons. That's what he does so well. That is magnificent. And then you get the other side, which is the most frustrating athlete I've ever seen in my life. Someone in a half-court set that is damaging your team, damaging your offense, very brutal to your offense. I don't know how he doesn't see it. I don't know how he doesn't recognize that. I don't know how he doesn't look in the mirror when he realizes without Joel Embiid on the floor, you're running offense through Furkan Korkmaz and Dwight Howard because of your flaws. Like, you're the primary ball handler. There's no way that Furkan Korkmaz should be putting the ball on the floor. That's what you have to do, though. That's how you have to run your offense. Ben, how do you not see that, dude? How do you not recognize that? That's what's crazy about it. That's what's crazy about it. Thoughts on the Flyers last night? So, look, I know a lot of people are upset with that third period, as you should be. You're up 3-0, and you allow this team to come back and score their final 2 goals within, 30, 40 seconds of one another? You can't do that. And Carter Hart was not good. Carter Hart, I think he should have saved all 3 of those goals. All 3 of those goals should have been stopped by Carter Hart. But I know this. Heading into that game on a second half of a back-to-back, you had to win. You needed 2 points. It was mandatory. It was a season-defining game. It was a must-win hockey game halfway through a regular season, which doesn't come up very often. It's rare when something is must-win in a regular season game for a hockey team. And it was, because you got your ass demolished 9-0 to the Rangers. You better come out with a sense of urgency. You better come out victorious. And the captain did that. That Claude Giroux-led line did that. Him, Konechny, and Oscar Lindblom were fantastic in that game, and the leadership stepped up. I needed to see the response. I needed to see how this team was going to go out there. And I know, look, they're not going to be fixed. This team has many flaws, so I can't demand a perfect 60 minutes because we know they're not a perfect 60-minute team. We know that there's no way in hell that the orange and the black are going to just automatically not make D-zone problems. They are going to turn the puck over in the D-zone. They are going to have bad gap. That's who they are. But for 52 minutes of that game, 50 minutes of that game, they dominated. I thought they controlled the pace. 50 minutes of play. They looked really good. Very, very good. Yeah, there's going to be 10 minutes a night where they give up some things. That's who they are. So that's what it was. But the Flyers, to get mad, I can't get mad at the Flyers for last night. They had to get 2 points. They had to do it. Their leadership had to step up and to beat an Islanders team, a well-coached Islanders team. Yes, without their captain. But I got to give credit to the Flyers, which makes me feel good about it. Yeah, Phil Myers, Travis Sanheim, AV mentioned both of those guys after and said, I thought they bounced back very good or very well. And I thought the same thing. I was embarrassed the other day. Yeah, I know. I was too. I was embarrassed. And I even said this in the Rangers post-game pod, even before we touched on the Islanders win last night. So this was before the Islanders series even started. I said, what if they sweep the Islanders? What if they win 2 of 3 against the Islanders? What would you be talking about? How would you feel about this team? What would the conversation be? Now, I don't know. I don't know what it would be, but I bet you it wouldn't be bad. I bet you we'd be thinking differently about this team. Right now, they are tied with the Bruins in games played. They're 3 points behind. That's for the 4th seed. Now, the Penguins, I think they're maybe a couple more points behind the Penguins, but they have 2 more games played. They're right in the mix. I don't think that they're a great team by any means. They're right in the mix. My goal for this season is don't fall apart. It's easy after you lose 9-0 to become a team that's irrelevant. Don't become a team that's irrelevant. Make me engaged. Make the games matter. Make me watch. Make me care. Make the conversation something that can be fun. It can be frustrating, but it's conversational. Stay involved. Stay involved in that 5th seed. And that's where we're at now. Sadly, the expectations have changed to make sure you're staying in the 5th seed so I can at least talk about you for possibly making the playoffs. That's where we're at. That's where we're at. Okay. Let's talk football. Well, look. You know how this works, okay? On a day after a Flyers game, I'm going to talk a little Flyers. They deserve it. They had a big win last night. I'll talk football, but look, it's not like, hey, football only. We got a lot on the table. All right, it's March Madness. The Flyers, Ben Simmons. I'll talk football, but don't okay as if we can't get the hockey out here. You know what I'm saying? Paul says, personally, I think we shouldn't make this Watson trade. Now, why is that, Paul? Because a lot of people that think no is because they have a lot of other holes, so why give up the future to go get a quarterback while you're going to have a lot of flaws? Keep in mind, too, one of the beauty things of these quarterbacks that are younger is no contract in play, and you can utilize them on a cheaper deal. That's not necessarily going to be the case, for someone like Deshaun Watson. There's a lot of theories out there that Howie Roseman's leaking information because they know that they're not going to make any splashes. So to keep the fan base happy, here's Howie Roseman leaking some info. Hey, tell everyone I'm in on Deshaun Watson so it can shut them up a little bit. And let's not act like Howie Roseman isn't going to manipulate things that way. You want to call him dumb. You want to call him stupid. He's definitely has Jeffrey Lurie brainwashed. He has people brainwashed. He knows how to manipulate people. So, from that aspect of it, I think it would be genius of Howie Roseman to come together with that. And yeah, keep in mind, Deshaun Watson doesn't want to be in Houston, who's the second most dysfunctional organization so far this past season. It was the Houston Texans, and then right above that would be the Philadelphia Eagles. So it's a very dysfunctional spot. Why would he be interested in coming to the Eagles? That's a great question for sure. So, that's something to also think about. But I honestly think it's smokescreen. I think they know they're going to be quiet. They're trying to keep people not happy because no one's happy right now, but they're trying to keep people somewhat like, hey, at least they're trying to push for Watson. I do think there's some of that in play here. Philly fans in South Dakota with the $2 donation. I always want to say San Diego because the SD, but I do know it's South Dakota. Any updates on DD and Zach Eflin? I have not heard anything. The only thing I heard from Zach Eflin is it looks like he's going to have a child, which congratulations to Zach Eflin. Maybe it puts him in father mode and he starts destroying people on the bump. Maybe we get a little bit of that. But I have not seen anything in terms of any updates on those two players specifically. Now, I did get a question about I want to pop it up on the screen. Here you go. Thoughts on Howie and Sirianni press conference. Let me take a fat swig so I can express my feelings. Wow, this is good coffee today. Look, I think Nick Sirianni, I think there's a little bit of a shtick to him. This passionate answer he gave at the end about his brothers and high school football and how his brother went to the state championship and they would run 11 personnel, but then they would have to run 12 personnel. They ran the wide 9, whatever. I mean, I'm just going off here, but with random things. But he did talk about the 11, the 12, and the thing is that good coaches mold their scheme to the roster that they have and the personnel that they have. They can make anything work. And this shtick of, he gets all intense and he starts talking about 11, 12, my brother, the coach. I don't know. There does seem to be this, I'm not going to say fakeness to him because I do think he cares about the game. But I guess I'm not the type of person that gets sucked into that. That doesn't juice me up. That doesn't get me going. That's not something that makes me think now that all of a sudden Nick Sirianni is some great coach. It's a little different from Doug Peterson. If you're trying to look for something new, something different. Yeah, there's little gooky. I guess the word is quirky. It's kind of quirky. There's quirkiness to him. Goofy, kind of nerdy side of this passionate football. It's not like a meat and potatoes football passion. It's kind of like a quirky type of it. Which Jake is saying that Sirianni couldn't stop saying He says right a lot. And when you say right a lot, people claim that that's because you're not sure of yourself and you're somewhat looking for people to say yeah, you're right. I think he felt more comfortable than he did in the first press conference. That's inevitable. And I think that's obvious. He looked a little bit more comfortable involved. Once he started getting into the football stuff, he gets more into his comfort zone. But I don't take anything away from it, quite honestly. A lot of the questions were geared towards Howie. A lot of what Howie says is just straight up bullshit. So I personally didn't take much out of it. I was thinking more of just let me hear him talk again. Let me see if he's any more comfortable. Let me hear his tone. It wasn't really much of what they were saying because what they say is a lot of nonsense right now. And I will give Howie credit for one of his answers because he was asked specifically about the conversations between Howie and his representative and what happened behind closed doors. And a lot of people in that area, and look, this is it's not a big deal that Howie said this. I'm just saying, when he said it, I was like, okay. A lot of people would bounce around the question and just try and not answer it at all. But instead, Howie just went with, you know what? One of the good things about an open door policy is you got to have the trust of being able to have these conversations that stay between two people. And I think I'm just going to do that with this Carson Wentz one. So, yeah, I just feel normally it would be something along the lines of, you would bounce around it, dance around it, give you some nothingness, and go, he didn't even answer the question. The fact that he was like, you know what, open door policy, you have the ability to talk to anyone. It's like, hey, come talk to me, but that stays in-house. That's part of that type of conversation. He just said, that's it. That's it. So instead of beating around the bush, he got straight to it. I'm not telling you. And I guess I kind of respected that philosophy of I'm just not going to tell you because that's how this works when you have that type of conversation with the player. It stays within. So I don't know. It doesn't mean much, and I'm not claiming that it does. Christopher with the $2 donation. Are you confident in the Eagles coaching staff? It's hard to be confident, right? I don't know, and I'm planning on doing an Eagles podcast. I am, because it's been a little bit of time. We've been talking a lot of Sixers. We've been talking a lot of Philly spring training, and, of course, the orange and the black. So I think that it's time. It's due for an Eagles podcast very soon with all this stuff popping up, but it's hard to be confident because we don't know. We don't know anything about Nick Sirianni. We don't know anything about this offensive coaching staff that's very young with not a lot of experience. We have no clue what it's like with Jonathan Gannon, who wasn't a hot item. He was a guy that everybody wanted that, hey, he was interest. There was a lot of interest around the league. So I'm intrigued by Jonathan Gannon because there seems to be at least with Nick Sirianni, no one wanted Nick Sirianni. Nobody wanted him. Nobody wanted some of his guys on the staff. Although I am interested in the quarterback's coach, and I am interested in Jonathan Gannon because he was someone that intrigued people around the league more. But I don't know how to be confident because we don't know anything. If anything at all, it's just blind optimism. So I think the real question would be, are you one of the fans that have blind optimism when it comes to these coaches. And I think I'm more optimistic than most, but I could see it going the wrong way as well. There's a lot of people out there that think that this team's going to be a 3-win team for the next 5 years. Well, come on. This is the NFL. I bet you didn't think after they went 7-9 in 2016 that they would go win the Super Bowl. Things happen. Might they have a down season? Yeah, they are going to have a down season. But I asked the question, is it possible to have a season where you're 6-10? Because 7-9, if they went 7-9, everyone would agree that that would honestly be a positive season based off of what the expectations are. So I'm going to rule 7-9 out. But is it possible to go 6-10 and it not be the most hideous football in the world? Like last year was unwatchable football. Can it be 6-10 football where you're competitive, you're involved, you're watching Nick Sirianni grow, you're watching Jalen Hurts grow, and it leaves you optimistic with more cap space and being able to make more moves and watching guys like Jalen Reagor take steps? Is it possible that you go 6-10, but you feel way better into your second season with the Hurts and Nick Sirianni combo? Or is that not a possibility? Is there no way, shape, or form that you can see 6-10 and somehow be like, okay, you know what? 6-10, but I feel good about Sirianni, Gannon, and Hurts for a second season. Now the bar's raised. Now you have more cap space. Now you have other options that you can. Oh, yeah, there's 17 games. I apologize. There's 17 games this season. So that does change things. I guess I don't want to say 6-11. So 7-10, which is so weird to say. 7-10. So 7-10 game season. Sirianni said, love how he gave him a lot of young players. Yeah, I mean, and that's where I think a little bit of nitpicking's involved. A little nitpick involved is like, yeah, okay, he's just giving you coach speak. That's a coach speak answer. I'm excited to get my hands on these young players. And look, a lot of young players to him could be Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert, and Jalen Reagor. Like that could honestly be enough for him to think about young players. Because if you think about some of these players offensively, Jalen Reagor, Jalen Hurts, Miles Sanders, Dallas Goedert, if you're a coach, you'll be like, yeah, look, I got some young players I'm excited about. You know, it's all coach speak, though. It really is. What's the elbow coughing going on there, Taylor Brody? Which is my cousin. What is the elbow cough going? What is that exactly? The 17-game season isn't official yet. I only said that because I know the talks are in place, obviously. Chris says, I do think we'll do better than the fans expect. Yeah, look, last year was so bad. You had horrendous quarterback play. You're going to get better quarterback play out of Jalen Hurts than you did with Carson Wentz last season. You're going to get a better offensive line. Now, can they stay healthy? That's a different conversation. You're relying on these older guys, and that's one of the problems with Howie Roseman in years past. You relied on a Deshaun Jackson. You relied on an Alshon Jeffrey. You relied on these older guys, and they ended up falling apart. So, you know, what's to say that that's not going to happen again when you rely on Lane Johnson, when you rely on Brandon Brooks? Very possible. Very, very possible. But I do think that it will be better than this 3-win season I think some anticipate, just because they are extremely upset with Howie, which I get it. You should be upset with Howie. But this organization has had some look, they've never really been in this type of situation before, but based off of their track record, it's not common for them to just be a disaster forever. They seem to figure it out rather quickly. That's all. I'm just basing it off of that. Someone said, what do I think about Karl Anthony Towns? Is there something that I missed from Karl Anthony Towns? Is there something that I should be seeing at a cat? Because I don't see anything. Would you say that Ben Simmons is a jump shot away from being elite? Well, I think, to be honest with you, I think he is elite. I think he's got elite skill sets. No one can defend like him. All right, there's great defenders in this league. Nobody, and I mean nobody, can defend the way that Ben Simmons can 1 through 5 at that level. He's not just okay at defending the 4 and the 5. No, he's elite at guarding 1 through 5. I think Ben Simmons is already an elite player in certain areas. But if you're talking about what's stopping him from being top 5, yeah, when we talk about KD and James Harden And I'm putting LeBron in a different category because no one's ever going to touch that type of magic power that LeBron James has. But yeah, Kevin Durant and James Harden and those players. But he's never going to have that touch. There's no way, even if Ben worked on his game, that Ben's going to someday be a walking bucket like a Kevin Durant is. So it would be a different style of offensive play. But yeah, I mean, obviously, if you want to talk about Ben Simmons in a top 5 category, yeah, the jump shot is what it is, stopping him. It is. Hot take, the Sixers will go 1-5 on this road trip. That is a hot take, considering how well that they're playing. What makes you think that? Why do you feel so negative on this 1-5 road trip? Don't be an Angus. We all know about Angus. Don't be an Angus. Angus came in the other day after that monster win against the Knicks, right? Nice win, solid victory, Tobias Harris, all that greatness. 2 seconds into Coffee with Brodes, Angus comes down and goes, they're losing to the Bucks. Why? Why aren't you appreciating the moment? Why aren't you appreciating the big win? Oh, they're going to lose to the Bucks. Come on. Don't be an Angus. Carmen says, all I want is a competitive team that has players buying into Sirianni's system. And that's kind of what I'm saying with this whole, like, to put the record aside. Is it possible that you leave optimistic after the season's over just because you see positive signs with a new coaching staff? And I think that's kind of what the expectations are. And also keep in mind, whether it's their luck or not, this division is not very good. Say what you want about the Giants being better than what they have been. Yes, that's true. But they're not this unbeatable team that you automatically write off because all of a sudden they had a nice season last year where they still had a lot of growing pains, may I add. It's just not the dysfunction that we are used to seeing out of the Giants. Let's not act like they turned the page completely. With Washington, yeah, you know what? Their defense is scary as hell. Their defensive front is lethal. If you clean up your offensive line, though, will it be harder for them to have that explosive night? Now, they're going to be able to do it, all right? And they're adding Fitzmagic, who I think is an upgrade from all their quarterbacks last year, and they won the division with the slop they had at quarterback. Now you get a Ryan Fitzmagic. Yeah, you know what? I think that's going to be a tougher matchup than we are accustomed to seeing. But once again, it's not like they're unbeatable. All these teams in the division, they're beatable football teams. You're not stuck with Seattle. You're not stuck with Green Bay. I'm just spitballing teams here where, oh, they're dominant and there's no way that you're going to get through them. These are beatable teams where, their division isn't a powerhouse. So does that give you any sort of a different mentality? I don't think this team's going to be good. I'm not saying this team's going to be good. I'm just saying I don't know if this team is like full-on insane 3-win disaster mode. It's hard to be disaster mode. Cincinnati Bengals without having an Andy Dalton, with having Andy Dalton, like that type of a Cincinnati Bengals team. No, I don't think you're going to fall apart to that. Where you're 2 wins, where you're 3 wins. I really don't see it being a 3-win type of season. I just don't. We are getting asked about the Phillies lineup. Well, considering it's a 6:30 game tonight, it's a night game. They probably aren't going to have the lineup out from, that's just my guess, but I'll check. I don't see anything. And it doesn't look like the Phillies lineup is, anyone has talked about the Phillies lineup. Yeah, Washington made other moves. Washington made other moves for sure. Miles Sanders, the GOAT, says, I think Eagles finish ahead of the Giants this year. I wouldn't rule it out. That's my thing. And this kind of goes back to the Flyers thing. So everyone's like, the Flyers aren't a playoff team. Maybe they're not, but maybe they are because there's a hole in that 4th slot for the playoffs. There's flaws with other teams. So could the Eagles finish better than the Giants? Maybe. And maybe it's not because the Eagles are some fantastic team, but maybe it's because Daniel Jones isn't that good. Maybe it's because the Giants still have a ton of problems. Maybe it's because Saquon Barkley still gets hurt. To say that they're automatically the 4th team in this division, I don't know. I don't know. What if Nick Sirianni's great? What if he is great? What if he is the guy? As much as I think that he seems shticky and he seems like that puppet, all I'm going to say is Doug Peterson, nobody knew who the hell he was. And ultimately, he had a bunch of flaws, but he had some good seasons, and he's got a great skill set as a coach as well that you can't teach, which is everyone loves to play for him, and he has that heart of the locker room that you can't teach that. That's not X's and O's. You have it or you don't. But no one knew who Doug Peterson was, and he went to a Super Bowl. No one knew who Andy Reid was, and he's arguably one of the best coaches in football. You can make the argument that he is the best coach in football. That's how good Andy Reid is. No one knew who he was. Do I think Nick Sirianni's going to do that gut feel? Probably not. But their track record shows that when they pick these nobodies, they've had success. They've had success. And I know it's an unpopular opinion because everyone just hates Howie right now and all, which makes sense. I get it. You're supposed to hate Howie. That's the point of when you're down this far and you're this dysfunctional, you blame the owner, you blame the GM. You should be pissed at them. But their track record does matter to a degree. With that being said, every year is different, and now they're in this unique environment that you're not accustomed to being in, and this isn't standard. So they are in some ugliness, but I don't know. I think that it's getting a little bit of an extreme as well. I do think it's getting taken to this level of they're gonna suck for 7 years. Really, 7 years? They're just gonna suck for? Stop it! Stop it! Giroux comes in with a $3 donation. Did you do a March Madness bracket, Brodes? Of course, everyone does a March Madness bracket. Got into some of my pools, and I hate to be this guy, but Gonzaga to me seems to be the team to beat. Right? Gonzaga is a nasty squad, my friend. Nasty, nasty squad. Thank you so much for the $3 donation. Drew, who do you have winning it all? I have Gonzaga, though. All right, so, Brodes, why the hell are we looking at quarterbacks? When Lori said no quarterback competition, do we really need Watson? Like, this is where I feel like my brain explodes. Deshaun Watson is a special player. If you can get Deshaun Watson, you get Deshaun Watson. You shouldn't, I don't think, why shouldn't we look at quarterbacks? Do we know if Jalen Hurts is the guy? There's no way in hell that you should be satisfied with Jalen Hurts. You got one quarterback on your roster right now. You're telling me that the Eagles shouldn't be looking at quarterbacks? They absolutely should. Now, look, you drafted Jalen Hurts for a reason, and you should give him opportunities. Like you owe it to yourself with that second-round pick to see if he can play. But if there's a chance to get your hands on a Deshaun Watson, you explore that. If you're drafting 6, you explore Justin Fields. You explore Wilson. You do your homework. You're doing yourself a disservice. Just like you owe it to yourself to find out what Jalen Hurts is, you do it to yourself to find out what some of these other quarterbacks can be, because it's the most prized possession you have in sports is a quarterback that you can rely on for years to come. If you can get a Deshaun Watson, you owe it to yourself. There's no way that you shouldn't be looking at all. When you're not accustomed to drafting this high, you make sure when you have these limited chances to do it, you do all of your homework. You do all of your scouting. You do all of your pro days. You get out there and see Trey Lance. You get out there and see everyone. You owe it to yourself to do your research. So I don't think that you should not look around because of Jalen Hurts. It would be different. Like, for example, I don't agree with what the Green Bay Packers did with Love. If you have Aaron Rodgers, if you have Russell Wilson, if you have Tom Brady, yeah, don't do your homework. You're right. You don't do your homework then. Unless you're at the last year of Tom Brady and you need to figure out what you're going to do next. Then, yeah, different story. But I still don't agree with the Aaron Rodgers one because there's still enough time left for Aaron Rodgers. I'm talking more when you're like 52, like Tom Brady is, or 68, however old he is. It's like, all right, maybe we should look at that. But at that point, you're all in. Hey, we got Tom Brady for his last season. Let's go win a championship. You're thinking about it differently. So, look, I don't knock it from that perspective. But right now, you got to do your homework. You got to do your homework. So I disagree with that philosophy of, hey, you shouldn't. You shouldn't. I think that's bad. That's bad mentality. My pick for March Madness, Gonzaga. Brodes, who do you think is better in the 6th pick, Pitts or Smith? I think Jamar Chase, Pitts, like all these players, they're so good in their own way. they're both going to be dominant. If you can get Jamar Chase, he's going to dominate. If you get Pitts, he's going to dominate, especially with Dallas Goedert out there, even though he's not just a tight end. He's someone that you can utilize in so many different ways, and he can do so many different things out there. You can line him up in so many different areas out there in formations that he's not just a tight end. He's just an explosive, dynamic offensive threat. You got both. You got both. Both can be amazing, and Smith can be amazing. They all can be amazing. So, like Nick Sirianni was saying, you can apply so many different things to the personnel that you have. Do I think Hurts will have a good year, Brodes? I think he will have an okay year. I don't think it's going to be anything amazing. I don't think it's going to be atrocious. I think he's going to have some good games. I think he's going to have a lot of, I guess rookie moments isn't, he has 4 games under his belt, but he's going to have youthful moments. I think he's going to have an okay year. You're going to be like, all right, Jalen Hurts is okay. See, I think Jalen Hurts can play in this league, but I don't think he's like an insane winning type of quarterback. I think he's just going to be an okay guy. He's going to have good moments. He's going to have flawed moments. He's going to keep you afloat. Like, I hate to say this because this man's a journeyman, but I can kind of see him in like this Ryan Fitzpatrick mode where if Ryan Fitzpatrick is your quarterback, you're not going to be a 2-win team. You're not going to be a 13-win team, a 12-win team. You're not going to make an insane Super Bowl push, but you're going to be in the hey, we're hanging around type mentality. Like, normal, that's kind of what you get out of Ryan Fitzpatrick. Of course, you can look through his career, and there's times where it was bad and all, but, product of surrounding him is also a part of this. And right now, you can make the debate that the Eagles don't have anything surrounding Jalen Hurts. So, but, yeah, I think that Jalen Hurts is that type of quarterback where he keeps you hanging around. He might not get you over the hump. He's not going to be an insane disaster where you win 2 games, but he's going to keep you afloat and keep your head just above water. But I don't know if he's going to take you to that next level kind of quarterback. That's how I see him. Someone asked if Jalen Reagor is untouchable. I mean, not if we're talking about a Deshaun Watson or something, but why would Jalen Reagor be untouchable? If you're telling me Jalen Reagor is in a trade to get Deshaun Watson, well, then no, of course not. What have we seen at Jalen Reagor to label him untouchable? Now, I think it'll be rare to trade your first-round pick from last year. No, it's not something that's just standard. But once again, you're talking about what happens in return. What else are you getting in return? You can make a good argument for either Chase, Pitts, and Smith as to why the Eagles should draft him at 6. Yeah, definitely. I think all 3 of those players are great. Surtain, the cornerback out of Alabama, is another one. You also have Parsons, which you know how they value that position. They don't. But that's another one that I wouldn't be disappointed with. But depending on who's on the board, right? Because at that point, it's about, look, who's on the board in front of you? Who's in the board in front of you? And would you pass up on a Pitts for a Parsons, right? Like, no, I don't want to do anything like that. So obviously it depends on what's available. But my point is there's 5 guys or so that if they're on the board, I'm cool with any of them. Of course, circumstances matter, and but there's about 5 guys that I would be okay with in that spot. I don't know who they're leaning towards it in that side of the draft. Someone asked, who do you think they're going to take? I don't know. I don't know if it's Chase. I don't know if it's Pitts. I don't think anybody really knows. I don't think anyone has that information on who they're going to select. But I think we know the players that are going to be available-ish in that range, and I think we know what type of positions they need. So, but they also, keep in mind, they also took a quarterback last year in the 2nd round when they needed a lot of help. So they can go off the map and throw something random on us. Yeah, Mitch Trubisky signing with the Bills, huh? Things happen quickly in this league. No doubt about it. Things happen real quickly in this league. You go from starting quarterback last year, and then look, there was actually a little bit of time at the beginning of this season where Mitch Trubisky actually made a little bit of noise and had a resurgence there, and then boom, before you know it, there goes Nick Foles. What was it, against Atlanta? Came back in the second half, threw like 3 touchdowns, but Mitch Trubisky still played after that and made some noise and all, and then it's like, yeah, you stink, dude. We're not. Your option is, hey, you have fun with backup quarterback life. Mitch Trubisky, man, what a joke. All right, so I'm going to disagree with you, Ruiz, here. Rager's a bust. Hasn't shown me anything that popped off the screen in my eye. Test tells me he's a bust. It's one year of football in one of the worst years you've ever seen out of the organization. He might not be the player that you want him to be, but you can't make that assessment yet. You don't know. There's not enough information. I don't think the scheme was drawn up well for Jalen Reagor. We talked about the play design out of Doug Peterson, and when you talk to all the professionals that study NFL film at a high level, they say the same thing. Doug Peterson's play design made no sense. So with me knowing that knowledge, with me knowing that Doug Peterson was terrible and just threw all these vertical routes, I don't think that's what's best for Jalen Reagor. He might have speed, but it's more get the ball in his hands where he can use his legs and create things happening with maybe getting the ball quickly, get a quick slant going, put the ball on maybe like a wide receiver. You know how many times they threw that wide receiver screen to Alshon Jeffrey? They did it with Quez Watkins too later in the year, and you saw some nice plays out of it. Why not do stuff like that with Reagor? Get the ball in his hands quick, allow him to work in space. I'm not saying that with Hurts. I don't know what Hurts is going to be. I said my speculation is he's going to be an okay player where he keeps you afloat. I'm not saying that's who exactly he is. That's my thoughts on what he can be. I think it's okay to assess like, hey, this is my fear with him, but you're just saying like he's a bust. We don't know if he's a bust. You can say that there's a fear that some of his skills, like the skill set you thought he had or you were so that he had, you're not seeing those at all, but like that doesn't automatically make him a bust. He might not be the ceiling player that you are, but if he's a serviceable, if he's an okay receiver, does that mean he's a bust? Because what I think you're saying is he's not a true number one. And that's fine. I'm not saying Jalen Hurts is a bust. I think he's a guy that keeps you average. I think Jalen Reagor is going to be a nice special wide receiver player. Like he's got a special, I guess special is the wrong word, but there's number one guys, Julio Jones, Odell Beckham, those game-changing number one receivers. Then there's those guys that have like their niche skill sets. Like they have their own unique skill sets that like an Ayuk or a player like that has like their unique skill set, and you can throw different things at them and you can utilize them differently. They have this unique skill to them. A Reagor might be more in that category of a receiver, but that wouldn't be a bust. That would be not average, but I don't really know the word I'm looking for with it, but it's like they have their own unique skill that makes them who they are. But yeah, bust is too strong for me. Bust is too strong for me. Never once did I say Jalen Hurts was a bust. I put thoughts on what I think these players can be and how I think they are. But yeah, I mean, there's just 1 year of my problem is it's 1 year of the worst organizational year we've seen, the worst quarterback play we've ever seen, the most injuries on the offensive line we've ever seen, and yet we're saying that this kid can't play wide receiver. You know? But it's different because the difference is, like, for a player like J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, there are different circumstances. Like, you could tell that this kid can't play. Like, there's things that you can tell. Jalen Reagor, there's a different impression. Like, if you're trying to tell me that Jalen Reagor fits in the same category as J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, that's unfair. Let's look at the stats here. And this is just to put it in perspective. So, Jalen Reagor last year, and keep in mind, he got hurt a lot, right? He was banged up a little bit, and he was banged up in the beginning of the season. He had 31 receptions for 400 yards last season. In how many games played did he finish with? I don't like the way that this is displayed. Let me go to Pro Football Reference. He ended up playing 11 games, so he had 400 yards in 11 games. Obviously, I'm not sitting here saying that that's amazing. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in 24 games has 250 yards. All right. So in 11 games, you got 400 yards out of Jalen Reagor with one of the worst offenses we've ever seen last season. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in 24 games has 250 yards. All right. So there's a big difference in terms of like what you see out of Reagor, what you see out of J.J. Arcega-Whiteside, and being able to label bust. J.J. Arcega-Whiteside in 24 games, like I think you're seeing enough out of him and enough flaws out of him to label the bust on a J.J. Arcega-Whiteside. Jalen Reagor, I think it's unfair to come to that conclusion so quickly. And there's a difference to me. You might not see that, but I do. Yeah, taking Reagor over Justin Jefferson, I now with hindsight, yes, it's not ideal. Not ideal now that you see how this all kind of transpired and played out, unfortunately. What do I think the Eagles are going to do for the rest of the offseason? Probably not much. I mean, there's going to be little things here and there, but there's definitely not going to be anything explosive. If you're thinking about something explosive, I think you're following the wrong football team, quite honestly. I think that your expectations need to be tampered if you think that they're going to do a lot of, a lot of moves. You're in salary cap problem. You move down. Okay, well, then that's different. See, now you're changing things. To me, Reagor can play, but he's not a number one guy. What I'm saying, he's not a game changer for us to say, yeah, I want him. Well, I think that that's also unfair to say, like, I don't want him because he has a unique skill set that you can utilize in a different. Like, let me ask you this, because I always throw it back to if Sean McVay had Jalen Reagor, I bet you'd be saying, wow, I want a player that can be utilized like Jalen Reagor. Because I think someone like Sean McVay would make Jalen Reagor one of the most dynamic wide receivers there is. Like, I think you'd be like, all right, man, that's a little strong. I mean, I'm not going to like this Randy Moss level, but in today's era of being able to utilize pre-motion stuff and before the snap and getting them utilized and getting them going and putting them in routes where he can get the ball with time and space with so much open field, get him the ball 5 yards from the line of scrimmage, but he can take it 25 yards because of the play design and because of his speed. Like, I think Sean McVay would make Jalen Reagor look unbelievable, make him look so good. And you'd be going, oh, wow, I want a player that you can use like Jalen Reagor. I want a player that you can use like Ayuk. I want a player that you can use like those type of guys. And I think that's the problem. It's more designed to say like, oh, well, I don't want him. Once again, I think you're just being a little harsh on him. Yeah, he's not a number one. Who was the number one when the Eagles won a Super Bowl? Alshon Jeffrey? All right, he's a nice receiver. The whole number one thing is overblown. The whole, like, number one thing. Julio Jones, Odell Beckham, all these big, high-paid wide receivers. It's overblown. You don't need that. You need a good core. You need a good wide receiver core. You don't need to bang on the table, let me go pay a player so much money to be my number one wide receiver. I think that that's a little strong. You just need a good core, and he can be a part of a good core. Use Reagor as a running back? No, what? That's the most crazy thing in the world. Why would we be using him as a running back? The Zumoff thing. I was just in contact with some Mark Zumoff stuff for apparel. Of course, I'm excited for March Madness. Absolutely. The Zooism shirts, right? Is that what they have? The Zooism shirts? Turning garbage into gold? I love it. I love it. That's amazing out of Zumoff. But we wasn't looking for a good receiver. We was looking for a game changer. Maybe you were. I don't know. Was that a pick that fit the scheme? Was that like, hey, maybe they weren't. Maybe they weren't looking for that Jamar Chase, and they were looking for a guy. And I'm not saying that's right. I'm not saying that's right by any means. But there were a lot of conversations about it fitting the scheme more so than going out and getting that number one game changer. It was like, hey, let's get someone that would fit a scheme that we're looking for. Now, clearly, they were on the wrong page and they were very dysfunctional, but that's irrelevant to who Jalen Reagor can be. I still think Jalen Reagor can be something good. Whether their dysfunction caused them to pick Jalen Reagor or not, I do think that it's a little blown on the Jalen Reagor bust combo that we were having a little earlier. Even if we picked Metcalf and Jefferson. Well, here's the thing. If you ended up landing DK Metcalf, who went late in the second round anyway, it's frustrating, but a lot of teams passed up on him twice, right? So, yes, the Eagles, it would have been nice. I don't know if you would have went out and picked a wide receiver the following year if you got DK Metcalf. If DK, and who Who knows if DK Metcalf would have even been the same player? We talk about him now with Russell Wilson, like this guy's phenomenal, as we should. Who's to say that he wouldn't be in that same Rager conversation? People might be talking about DK Metcalf the same way that people are talking about Jalen Rager now. They'd be like, oh, DK Metcalf's a bust. Oh, he's not the player we thought he was, because Carson Wentz would have struggled, because the offensive line would have been banged up. So who knows? Who knows? Lori says he doesn't want to draft a QB. Roseman says we're keeping options open. I don't know what to tell you about the communication here from GM to owner and all that. I think I'm sick and tired of reading too much into it. I have the whole Jeff McClain piece. That Jeff McClain piece that came out at the end of last week, it's like 18 pages long on the Inquirer. I actually printed the whole thing out because it's like, Howie Roseman screaming at Lane Johnson and all that stuff. Man, like when it comes to this drama with the organization, I'm almost like, dude, I am done with this garbage. I'm just finished with it. I'm done. I can't stand it. I can't stand it. It's crazy. Yeah, it's one of the most frustrating things in the world, just thinking about what we sat through. And like now I'm thinking about like what Lori said, what Howie said. It's all coming back. Now that the draft's coming back in play, now that they spoke again, now that you heard Nick Sirianni, it's like, oh, no, I got PTSD of what I just sat through. It's really like how I feel at this moment. Oh, PTSD. It's crazy. Keep in mind, Rager was open downfield a couple times during the season, was overthrown, which could have been big explosive touchdowns. Yeah, there were missed throws all around the field. There are flaws with Jalen Rager. Don't get me wrong. Like, there are flaws. He's not perfect. He's a work in progress and all. But my point is, I think if you scheme him open, which is okay, you know, it's like, oh, well, if you got to scheme him open, he's not a good wide receiver. You know how many wide receivers in this league get schemed open? 90% of them. The special ones that win one-on-one battles to the elite level, they're rare. They don't grow on trees. There's not an insane amount of them to just pluck all around. Being schemed open's fine. All right? Do you think it's a coincidence we took Rager after not re-signing Aguilar? Both are similar type players. Nah, I don't see much to it in that regards. Yeah. I hate to do this, though, because we have 7 minutes to go, but I do need to cut this stream short because I do need to do some things this morning. So I normally go till 10, so it's a 7-minute cut short. I really do apologize for this. Maybe I'll owe it to you on the next one on Monday. But yeah, there's 7 minutes to go in the show, but unfortunately I got to run. So I got to help out with some things. So thank you guys so much for tuning in this week, and I'll see you at this weekend for sure. I'll see you because there's a lot of games we got to discuss. But look, March Madness, it's a big day. It's a big day for us sports fans. Enjoy the March Madness. Thank you guys so much for listening. Be aware, I will be releasing some information on Twitter at Brodes81 a little bit later on in the afternoon. Some big news that I will release for everybody. Thank you so much, and I'll see you guys live next week, Monday.